Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Christensen. Welcome to Horror 101 with Dr. AC, a gathering place for fellow fiends the world over to discuss all things freaky and frightening. If you want to be part of the conversation, and I hope you do, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, maybe go back and check out some of our previous episodes, leave a comment, and most importantly, let us know the fright flicks you'd like to discuss in the future. That kind of connection is exactly what we're looking for, and it really does make a difference. We're all about sharing the scare, and we want to hear from you. Ever since Peter Benchley's novel Jaws hit bookstands in 1974, followed by the enormous success of Steven Spielberg's big screen adaptation, sharks have become the aquatic boogeymen of our nightmares. Their power and ferocity has been exploited time and time again on screen, and just when you think they've exhausted their power to terrify, a new wave sweeps over the pop culture shore, and our fascination and fear is reawakened. As such, it's no surprise that screenwriter Thunder Levin and director Anthony C. Ferrante thought to combine the reliable finned and fanged fright factor with that other time-honored exploitation element, the disaster film. Sharknado's journey from joke title to cult classic is an unlikely but undeniable one, and its high time, it was given its proper due. Tonight, we honor this cult classic, which has spawned 5 sequels and reinvigorated the CGI Shark Tank for a brand new generation. I'm super excited to talk about this film tonight, and I have gathered an amazing panel of guests. Let's bring everybody in, and let's say hi to Dan Kiggins, Nicole McCusis, Daniel Millhouse, Grant Kuchan, that's the one. And we are talking about Sharknado, celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Who would have believed that 10 years has come and gone so quickly? I would love to. I just watched this movie for the first time recently with Daniel, in fact. So we are newcomers to the Sharknado family. Can I bounce over to you, Nicole? I'm going to go way over to you. And can you tell us your history with Sharknado?
So I've seen the movie twice, and I've actually only seen the first one, and the second time was today. I saw it when it came out, and so I re-watched it today to freshen up. But I do have a couple of little side stories about it. First being the cover art, and I actually just while you were talking, I was digging through. A friend of mine named Mike, he does all of the cover art. So he has done 1 through 6 of Sharknado, and he puts his daughter on the cover as a little tiny person, and it's adorable.
Is she like caught up in the funnel cloud?
Yes.
That's
yep.
Wonderful.
She's twirling around with the sharks in there. But I also have another little side story. So Sharknado 4, which I've yet to see, I'll get there eventually. But I also, besides working in the film industry, I do hair and sometimes makeup. So I got called out to do the hair of the cast of Sharknado 4 for San Diego Comic-Con. So I got up close and personal with Tara Reid and Ian Ziering and the whole cast. So I know them personally.
I hope they were all very nice to you.
Mostly. there was one that was maybe a little bit of a problem, and you could probably.
We'll draw lots to see who, we'll everybody put it in the comments who you think, that person was.
I think it's the Sharknado.
Did you think Sharknado was rude to Nicole?
Yeah.
Let me cross over to Grant. When did you see it for the first time?
Well, it's the first time I actually ended up seeing it because it was one of those I rolled my eyes at it for a long time. I was like, why am I going to bother watching this? And then my son at the time, he started getting into horror movies, and he was like, Dad, we got to watch this because they were having the Sharknado marathon on something or other. And I was like, all right, let's watch them. And we watched the first one, and we had such a fun time with it that we ended up, watching the second one and the third one and the fourth, and so it ended up becoming a thing with watching Sharknado with Gabe. So and it is one of those that is just that sort of 10 to like 12-year-old boy sort of sensibility. It's not too scary, it doesn't stick around too long, it's
Dan Kiggins, where did you see Sharknado for the first time?
I actually got caught up in the hype the original time it came around 10 years ago, everyone was talking about this movie, even if it was a joke or whatnot. And I did catch it the opening day, a premiere, and I was with friends and whatever, and we laughed, we did whatever, but I didn't really focus too much on the film or anything like that. It was a good time with the crowd, but I can say I just watched it again for the first time in 10 years or whatever. It's not as amusing when you're by yourself and just trying to get out of the film, because a good film, it is not. Fun, yes. Good film, no.
Let me bounce down to Daniel. Well, I was there for your initial experience, but has it sunk in deeper? Do you feel immersed in the Sharknado love?
I am so immersed that I bought a boat and I had to watch it at sea. I got all the posters, so no. It has sunk in the sense that I have the Wikipedia up so that I can remember everyone's name, even though I just saw it a week ago. So for when we talk about characters, had a lot of fun. I agree with what Dan said. I was shocked at how many movies have taken that slapstick approach already in a probably better movie way, but there's something about this that is it's just a ton of fun.
Yeah, and I seeing it with you for the first time, I was glad that we were there, because this is the kind of movie where you watch something happen on the screen and then you immediately turn to the person next to you because you want to validate that, did I just see what I just think I saw? Mm-hmm. I'm wearing my Turkey Day shirt. So every year, the day after Thanksgiving, my friend John Kitley of Kitley's Crypt hosts a bad horror movie marathon, and they're not bad movies, they're just misunderstood, but they are ones that they're not quite good, but they're really entertaining. And that's kind of where this movie kind of falls, in that no, it's not a good movie. It was made for cheap, and it was made because somebody put a joke title together and said, how funny would that be? And then they decided, you know what? Why not? Let's make a full movie out of this. And I think this is one of those that if it had been like a fake trailer on Saturday Night Live, it would have been, just that itself would have been a huge internet sensation. You know, mm-hmm. Oh, Sharknado, love it. Yeah. And I love that the tagline is "Nuff said," because what more do you need to say? It's a tornado full of sharks.
Yeah.
And it lands in LA, and, you know, mayhem ensues. And I think that was like you, I kind of was avoiding it for the longest time because I was like, I'm not going to watch that. That's going to be ridiculous, because I do like movies that are genuinely trying to be a good movie and just falling short for myriad reasons. You know, they don't have the budget, they don't have any filmmaking skill, you know, whatever. And this one kind of falls in between, where it's almost competent and it knows what kind of movie it is. You know, it's called Sharknado, it's ridiculous, but everybody in the cast plays it pretty straight, which I was kind of like, okay, that's how you do this kind of turkey, is you have to play it straight.
Yeah. And it's one of those two that I feel like if you think, and not to get off topic on the first Sharknado, of course, but if you think this one's ridiculous, the sequel is even like they just keep topping themselves, sequel after sequel after sequel. I'd say after about 4, really don't need to bother when they go to space. But like the second one where they go to New York, it's all right, how can we make this even crazier? How can we make this even bigger? How can we make it even weirder? Yeah.
Well, Daniel and I were like it starts off on a boat and there's like some kind of like weird espionage going on.
Are they selling sharks?
Well, they're selling shark fins.
Yeah, selling shark fins. You know, but again, it's like the guy, you know, passes off the briefcase and then he steals it back. And it's like he's trying to, like, you know, like he's on a boat. Like, where's he going to go? Like you turned your card face up a little early, my friend. But it's that kind of movie where you're like, what is happening? And you just have to kind of go click. Don't worry about it.
And there's that quick sort of environmental message about how shark fin soup is bad, but that doesn't fit into any of the rest of the movie. But they've made their statement. So yeah,
exactly.
I had a hard time watching it today alone. I mean, the first time I was with a group and it was fun, but like Dan, you said, watching it alone is a much different experience. And I found myself Googling a million things. I was like, I don't think hammerheads kill humans, do they? And I'm like, no, they don't. There was 16 attacks ever recorded and none of them died. So like, I couldn't turn off that, like, what is happening? And I just was on Google the entire movie.
I look forward to all your fun facts, like the fact that hammerheads, well, as I learned when I was watching that sharksploitation documentary that's on Shudder, sharks don't get Alzheimer's, by the way, but they do get cancer. So just fun facts.
Okay. Well, that's the premise of Deep Blue Sea.
That's right. Which is
a way better movie.
If you're going to talk about CGI sharks, because this is not the first CGI shark movie, it's not the best CGI shark movie, but it is certainly the most famous CGI shark movie. And I think it just kind of caught fire on a slow news day where people were like, Sharknado, funny, right? And then they shared it and they shared it and shared. So eventually it became kind of this, pop culture phenomenon where people watched it. Like the viewership kept going up. Every time the Sci-Fi Channel would play it, more people were watching it. And that had never happened before. I mean, usually it's diminishing returns, more people don't show up for the rerun, but that was the case in this film. And then again, I haven't seen any of the sequels either, but it sounds like they go more in an overtly comic vein, rather than kind of playing things a little straight.
Well, I would say that the woman who was the co-host on Remote Control, remember the MTV game show Remote Control, whatever her name was, she plays it about as straight and as narrow as she possibly can. But then again, she's the remote control girl, so it's really sort of like, you sort of get what you expect. Yeah.
Well, and Ian Ziering, I didn't realize he's like the guy who plays Finn.
Ian.
What's that?
It's Ian.
Is it Ian? I'm sorry. I apologize, yeah. Ian.
He's the only Ian.
Don't know why you spell it Ian then. He's a recurring character. He and Tara Reid are recurring characters in all of these sequels.
Oh yeah, they hook their bullet up to that, and they're just taking it the whole way.
I want to stay with that family. Why would I want to see a new family attack Sharknadoes?
Well, this time it's personal. I mean, it does kind of like, and that is a joke for like the Jaws the Revenge, where the shark decides it's going to hunt down all of Sheriff Brody's family. And even tracking them all the way down to Florida, where sharks don't live, or wherever they end up in Jaws the Revenge. But I love the fact that they keep finding ways to keep Ian Ziering and Tara Reid in this franchise. Because I can see why Ian Ziering would be like, you know what? I mean, on Wikipedia it says that like he needed to do another movie so he could get his SAG benefits. So he's kind of like, yeah, it's called Sharknado, but what are you going to do? I got to work. And Tara Reid's, career was cruising along, but it was certainly not what it once was. And kablam, now they have this franchise that is just, the royalties are rolling in.
Where was this filmed? Was it filmed in California, or was it?
It was filmed in front of a green screen.
Partially in Santa Monica.
Because I know doesn't Sci-Fi at a few times they did a lot of overseas films because of the taxes.
I'm sure they did, but yeah, since most of this is done in front of a green screen, I can't imagine that they had to worry too much about locations. But this was didn't they commission this from the Asylum?
It is an Asylum film. I think it's one of the high ones. Yeah. And
the Asylum is renowned for their mockbusters, where they, if Transformers comes out, they come up with Transmorphers, like
snakes on a train,
2 months earlier, snakes on a train.
Atlantic Rim also was another series.
So I mean, that's kind of their stock in trade, is doing these cheap knockoffs. But Sharknado is kind of playing on, and that's another thing that this sharksploitation documentary talks about, is they're playing on the humans' fear of sharks that was kind of escalated by the release of Jaws in 1975. Like since Jaws, sharks have become like the perfect apex predator because they're mindless, killers. Even though that's not true at all, because I think we were seeing a resurgence of shark movies in the 2000s, because we saw Open Water in 2003. Bait came out, Deep Blue Sea we referenced earlier,
and then a lot of the CGI too reminded me of Snakes on a Plane. Just the sort of quality of, I mean, no offense meant, but the quality of it reminded me a lot of that. So yeah.
Well, and I think that's right. Like, CGI had advanced to a point where you could do Sharknado
and do it cheaply enough, as opposed to it being a huge studio thing. And then you go to the movie and you're like, my God, these snakes are horrible. Right. With it being the sci-fi thing, it could be, oh, these effects are awful. Isn't this fantastic?
Yeah. Nicole, did you say did you watch it at home? Like the first time, did you watch it on the Sci-Fi Channel, or did you get to the theater?
The first time I watched it with a group, so it was fun. And it was when it, had just came out. It was new, and I had heard about it. I mean, I like, that kind of stuff. I worked on Birdemic and, stuff like, I like it. It's its own little category, again, not great films, but they're fun. So the first time I watched it, I thought it was fun and, a lot of laughs. And then you watch it alone. You're like, I don't know about this one. Yeah. I mean, it's still fun, I guess, but I don't know. It's a harder pill to swallow.
Yeah. Well, Birdemic is actually, that's a great, Birdemic kind of does that. It walks that line of being sincere, but inept. Whereas I feel like this is just proficient enough to not earn quite the same goodwill as something like Birdemic.
Yeah, well, and the difference is Birdemic, they tried. Like he went into making Birdemic, like I'm gonna make this great movie. People are gonna love it, and it's gonna blow your mind. Where I think Sharknado, they were like, hey, we got this cool title. You guys remember these people back from the 90s? Let's bring them back and and just have a good time. But I mean, similar concept. And I like the whole, as a whole, I like killer animal genre. It's always interesting. So I'll usually watch anything in that vein.
Well, and this, I mean, well, as I know you do as well, Dan. So, I mean, I love the fact that we have sharks that kind of do magical things, like swallow people whole. Like just people just like slide into the shark mouth and then kind of hang out there for a while, apparently.
Yeah, I was also Googling today, like, how long can a shark survive out of water? Like, I don't I went down some rabbit holes, but yeah, it's
what did you learn? How long can a shark, and more importantly, how long can a CGI shark survive out of water?
Until Ian Ziering gets them.
That's right. Indefinitely.
Did you ever research how long, how shallow sharks can get? Because I thought about that the whole time. Those sharks were getting those people like.
I thought about that too. I love the scene when she opens the blind. It's like, there's one in your pool. And then like 5 seconds later it comes crashing through the window. And now it's surviving in like 2 feet of water. And actually the beginning of the movie too, I think it's one of the first kills or attacks. The guy's standing at the beach and like the water's not even up to his knees. I paused it. I was like, it's not even his knees. And the shark just came and ate his leg off.
It's because they had their fins being sold. They wanted revenge.
That's right. It was personal for them.
Yeah.
I guess not personal so much as sharkanal. Do you shake your head at me, Dan?
I personally myself in North Carolina, or actually South Carolina, tripped over their shark it was just at my thighs. So I've tripped over a shark walking in the water.
So it's
luckily it was a nurse shark, you know what I mean? but I don't think vicious ones come in that close at all.
Now, does anybody have an innate fear of sharks? I mean, like, like I know, like John Kitley is like totally like freaked out by Jaws, and that's it for him. He doesn't get in water anymore.
That's sharks have ruined him from water.
I did have a fear because of Jaws. The mom whose kid gets eaten, has a scene where she like slaps Brody and everything. I always thought she looked like my mom, and it just, I don't know, like the devastation she had made me think of my mom getting that sad. And that I was terrified of sharks for a really long time, but I was also obsessed with sharks. I remember buying like books about shark information, I think because I was afraid of them.
Yeah, no, I remember watching the first Jaws on Laserdisc over at Jeff Iftergruden's place. We were down in his basement and we weren't supposed to watch it. I want to say we were about like 6 or something like that. And he threw it on and scared the hell out of me for a good summer. But that was about it.
Sharks are both kind of like gods for like the Polynesian, and that was their origin. It's like you would see like, paintings and things of them depict these powerful beings. And then somehow they got turned into demons as well. So it's like this interesting that they've become kind of the go-to villain. After Jaws, like people were out like hunting down sharks as though they were performing a public service. And so, like I can see why the sharks have become such kind of a utilitarian aquatic villain, because, A, Jaws, but B, you don't really have any other creatures of the water that have the same kind of appeal.
Yeah, because what was it? They tried to do that, the one with the orcas.
Oh, well, it's called Orca.
Oh, was it called Orca? Okay. I remember they tried that for a while, and they were sort of like,
Yeah. They're too cute. They look like, dolphins wearing tuxedos.
Did they do one with like a giant squid?
Oh, they've done, yeah. Well, there's been tentacles and other things like that. But then since the CGI explosion, there's Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, which does have an amazing sequence of like the shark jumping up at the airliner.
Don't forget Croctopus.
Croctopus, that's right. So, I mean, does anybody fans of those kind of like Roger Corman, Asylum, sci-fi? I don't know what you call them. Like, they're not really animal attack movies. They're just kind of like weird mutation attack movies.
Kinda.
It's okay. This is a safe space, Dan.
I don't know if I'm a fan, but yeah, I buy a lot of crappy movies, and a lot of times those will be like, Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark. That's $1. You're coming home with me. You know what I mean? So yes, but I still can see through that. But I also purchase them to watch with people type of things. It's not like I'm like, thank God, finally another Mecha Octopus movie or something like that. But I do own a large amount of shark films. I own a lot of films.
I think one of it's not a shark movie, but Zombie 2, when he fights the shark. I remember seeing that as a kid and my mind being blown. I mean, it still kind of is when I watch it because it's still pretty nuts, but that's probably one of my favorites that involves a shark.
Yeah, for people who don't know, this is Zombie 2, aka Zombie Flesh Eaters, aka just Zombie, directed by Lucio Fulci. And there's a scene where a shark is swimming along, and of course everybody's like, "Ooh, sharks are dangerous." And then a zombie comes along and bites the shark.
And an actual shark, not CGI.
There's no CGI in that one. It's a man biting a shark. It's
legit shark.
Daniel, are you going to go watch it tonight?
Absolutely. What did the shark turn into a zombie too? Did they have a zombie shark or no?
Oh, well, I don't know. Actually, we didn't follow it. There is, in fact, a movie called Zombie Shark, I'm sure. So
there's a ghost shark.
Oh, there's absolutely Ghost Shark. I remember seeing Ghost Shark, and like the shark comes out of like somebody's glass of water, and I'm like, okay, it's that kind of movie.
I will say, when I saw Deep Blue Sea as a kid, I was terrified enough of sharks that this is a true story. This isn't a joke. I thought a shark was going to come out of the toilet and eat me when I was 8 or 9. Did that come out in 98, 99?
Was that the end of your story?
That was the end of the story. I was just afraid a shark was going to eat me when I was using the bathroom. Terrified. That is true.
And how did you quell this fear?
Well, I was too embarrassed to tell anyone I had the fear. So I think I fought it on my own psyche that this is absurd. And because you got to use the bathroom every day.
That's right. Congratulations on your,
thank
your
you.
journey. And so have you and Gabe like stayed with the series, Grant?
So yeah, we went all the way through to the fourth one. And then we sort of stopped there.
Because he outgrew them.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I think I saw like 5 and 6, and I think they were so memorable. All right, I think one of them is in space or something ridiculous like that. But it gets just weirder and weirder every single one. But I do have to say I have a soft spot for the second one. Again, because it's you know exactly what they were going for. They finally got a little bit of a better budget, so the CGI is a little bit better, but not so much that they ruin it. And the fact that it takes place in Manhattan.
Well, and we have, I mean, because it was a made-for-TV movie, like things aren't extremely gory.
No,
and they're kind of, you know, they're silly gory, so it's like it's not really I don't think it's offensive in any regard, but it is interesting to watch, to imagine that like this does play on TV, because we do have people getting their legs bit off, and we have sharks being like chainsawed open and things like that. And like, you know, it's not your, you know, it's not your grandmother's made-for-TV movie.
No, I mean it's definitely a step above Sesame Street as far as the gore goes, but not a big step. I mean, really, I mean the way that sort of everything dramatically happens when everybody gets eaten, it's the and then they get eaten, and I mean and that's there are a couple times they actually literally do this before they get eaten, and that's about it.
Assume the shark pose.
Exactly. So
that way we can fit this right over you.
Exactly, right over, and then we're good to go. Yeah.
Has anyone seen the 10th anniversary edition that I think they did updated?
They added
CGI.
more sharks, more deleted scenes and things like that, I think. I'm amazed that in 10 years, I mean, because it's been 10 years, I'm amazed that they've cranked out like 7 of these.
6, I thought. And then like a documentary type of thing, right? Shark of Darkness or something like that.
That's funny. Nicole, do you have any other dazzling behind-the-scenes stories?
No, the only thing I will say is when I was at Comic-Con for it, it was Sharknado 4 is what they were promoting. It wasn't out yet. It was just about to come out, but it was in one of the giant rooms for a panel, and it was packed. And it was like they were calling in like the 79 Lakers. Like they would call in a cast member, like the place was going nuts. I was like, what is happening? This is Sharknado 4. This isn't fun. So like you said earlier, like it just kept going and it just kept bringing in, I think each one brought in more of an audience, which is kind of nuts. But yeah, I was really blown away at just how much people love these movies.
What do you think that is? What do you think that secret? I'll throw that out to the whole panel, but what do you think the secret is? Like, why do people love these movies so much? Is it just to say you love it?
I think people enjoy the absurd. And I mean, how more absurd can you get than Sharknado? I mean, right there.
Sharknado 4, that's how much more absurd.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, we laugh at it, but by the time 5 had come out, they generated $4 billion worth of revenue. And I mean, that's insane. That was like up there with Pixar, Disney. So obviously it touched a nerve with a bunch of people. You know what I mean?
There's kind of a junk food quality to it, in that you know it's not going to be good for you. You know it's not going to be good, and so expectations are low, and you kind of know exactly what you're going to get, and you get exactly what you expect. You know,
Sure.
It is a McDonald's hamburger. You know, it's not good at all, but it's exactly what you ordered.
Yeah, and it's also one of those too that, you know, if you're in a group, you're not really going to miss a whole lot of dialogue if everybody's talking over it. You know, there's no huge plot twists or plot points or, you know, Oscar moments whatsoever. It's just it's there. You know, you can walk out, walk back in, and figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it's super locale. There's not a lot going on, but anytime you look up, you're going to see something wild and hopefully fun.
Mm-hmm.
I did kind of feel bad for John Hurd in the first one. I was like, oh man, this is a guy who has done some major Hollywood stuff, you know, genuinely respected in his career in the 70s and 80s. I was like, man, he is not even trying. Like he's just.
Mm-hmm.
I love that he had a bar stool in the back of his car.
Brings it with him.
He took that with him. That was his weapon.
Yep. And I mean, and the fact that like they couldn't afford to keep him around for more than half the movie. They're like, okay, we got to kill him off because he's killing us. He's so expensive.
Well, it's funny you're saying like, wow, it's ruining his career, and he did Chud and whatever. And you're like, wow.
Oh my God, but he's so good in Chud. He's so good in Chud.
He's great. He was in Cat People and Seventh Sign and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's Kevin McAllister's dad in Home Alone. How have you fallen so far?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, oh man, why didn't you have stupid money that you?
Do you know what's worse? There's people that meant it that didn't take Sharknado. Steve Guttenberg was offered the role and he turned it down and was all upset about it that he decided to star in Lava Ranchula or something like that.
Oh, right.
The next thing. So I think he kind of missed the boat. You know, like poor Steve Guttenberg. You know?
Oh man.
I just want to say one last actor. It was cool to see him. It was Robbie Rist, who was the bus driver, and people would know him from the Brady Bunch as Cousin Oliver, also. And he actually was Michelangelo as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle people, also. So, like, if you watch that skinny guy right, or that round little guy was all that. And it was fun to see him get smashed by the Hollywood sign, which seems to change size as it's flying around.
Well, thank you all so much. This was about as much fun as I knew it was going to be. And it was more fun talking about Sharknado than it was watching Sharknado. And it was shorter. So thank you for all of that.
Enough said.
Enough said. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep sharing the scare.